We're welcoming Michael Cordero, head of sales. Michael grew up in West Palm Beach, Florida. He and his wife, along with 3 kids, currently, though, reside in Palm Coast. At AK, Mike helps our customers with choosing a new roof. He loves helping people and seeing their ideas come to life. He enjoys talking about complicated, huge decisions and making them super simple for the customer to digest and, again, make those educated decisions. Mike graduated from Florida State University and was previously a high school teacher. He then proceeded in excel in sales and finance, and he's been doing that in this industry for 14 years. Michael, welcome.
Hey, how are you today? So I'm excited to be here. I know she kind of covered who I am and where I come from. I'm just covering hurricane season, storm readiness for you guys today when it comes to roofs and everything roof related. Hopefully you guys will learn something, and hopefully we'll be able to help you guys move forward through the hurricane season in this respect, at least. Okay. So first, we have to talk about just the estimates of hurricanes that are actually out there and kind of what we're looking at. According to a couple of different estimates I've seen, NOAA is talking about 19 to 25 possible named storms this season, 7 to 11 of those being hurricanes, 3 to 6 possible major hurricanes, category 3 or higher. So pretty active season. They're talking about a 22-year high for hurricane activity. And I know in the last couple of years has been a bit of a crazy mess here in Florida with hurricanes as it is. So to think it could be worse this year is a little scary. But inaction versus preparation, there's all kinds of that everywhere in our industry. And I think the fact that you guys are listening into this webinar and taking a look at how to kind of be prepared in advance on the properties you guys manage, I think will be super helpful to the customers that you have. So obviously our goal is to protect the property, reduce the liability, speed in the recovery of anything that might go wrong or may go wrong, I think is important. And there's a bunch of ways to do that, and hopefully we'll cover that today. Vulnerabilities in your roof. Okay, different types of roofs out there. I know you guys are dealing with all kinds of different properties, so anything from tile to metal to shingle, flat roofing material. There's even a category of basically like synthetic products that exist now on the market, metal tile or metal shingle or TPO materials that are looking like some of those products. So there's all kinds of crazy products out there now. There are some weak points, obviously, penetrations to the roof. Any type of penetration is a weak point. The edge where there's flashing is a huge weak point. Drainage collection spots. So, anywhere where it dumps into a flat section, or there's a secondary roof that's draining onto another roof. Those are points of problems. And obviously signs of potential failure could include water stains on the inside of the property, sometimes water stains even on the outside of the property in the eave, loose shingles, missing shingles, lifted shingles, any type of sagging on the roof sometimes or potential spots of failure. When you're walking properties or looking at the roof from the outside on the, along the outside, if you can see dips in the sheathing, anything like that, or could be potential points of failure and issues that you guys might have to deal with. Any type of antennas, direct TV spots, things like that also are typically high points of failure, especially when it comes to hurricanes. Another one that's not on this list though is ventilation. I know in the past couple of years we've been dealing with water intrusion through ventilation points. So it's not necessarily a failure in the roof, but there are some things that can be done to protect those ventilation spots as well. Pre-hurricane inspections. This is really the piece that I think is important, whether you guys do it or you call someone like a certified roofing and contractor to come out and take a look at it prior to the hurricane. But scheduling those inspections prior, having pictures and documentation of the property prior to the storms, I think is critical to knowing what's gone wrong. So call a contractor, have them out, have them take a look at the property, have them photo document it all, time stamped and kept in a file somewhere that you could then come after, take pictures and compare. We have drones, most contractors do, but we can get into places maybe that a ladder can't, or areas that might cause damage or something like that. We can get in with drones. And anything prior to the storm, I think even if you guys can go out and take pictures of the property on the outside, on the inside, documenting it as best you can prior to anything, I think would be huge, for anything that might happen after, and claiming insurances or repairing issues or anything like that. But yeah, definitely photo documentation. We also provide written inspection reports sometimes, just depending on the situation and what they're wanting. But absolutely, someone that will show up prior, take pictures, photo document it, write a report if you need, and keep all of that in one place. Okay. Drones obviously are a huge piece to the documentation. We can cover a whole lot more ground on a piece of property quicker that way, or if you guys have access to drones, you could as well. Preventative maintenance, obviously gutters and cleaning those gutters, making sure that they're not obstructed, making sure that the water's flowing properly. The downspout, sometimes people will check the gutters, but they're not checking the downspout. So make sure that the downspouts are free and clear of any debris that could back up water. Obviously missing shingles or damaged shingles, things that you might be able to see from the floor or from an inspection from somebody that would get up on the roof or with a drone, that can kind of spot those issues prior to the storm, getting those fixed so that you don't have a problem, either changed out shingles or resealing them. Penetrations and flashings, we can come in and actually add sealant along places where you could have issues or you think that there might be issues. We can add some sealant, electrical penetrations or pipe boots, ventilation pieces, flashing along walls, anything that would cause a problem or could cause a problem. Valleys sometimes, dead valleys, things like that. Securing rooftop units as well. A lot of times flat roof material and things like that will have AC units on top, solar panels. Just making sure that all of those things are secured. We've been on tons of roofs where some of those brackets and things that are holding those units have failed, or they've rusted out, so they're no longer holding the pipes, or the unit down, and making sure that those things are accounted for as well. So super important to get someone out there to kind of do a preventative maintenance. If there's debris on the roof as well, not just in the gutters, but debris anywhere in the roof, making sure that you remove that type of debris that could cause problems or be pushed up underneath things. All of that stuff would help. For a hurricane, sometimes that debris can grab the lip of a shingle or grab the lip of something, and then with a hurricane force wind can actually help pull some of that stuff off. So if the roof is free and clear, a whole lot less likely that something would happen. Super important preventative maintenance. It's definitely being proactive, right? Choosing the right vendor. Obviously, you want to make sure that the people are licensed and insured. Check references, Google reviews. I'm sure that each of you are talking to each other about who you use or who helped you the best, and you guys are using word of mouth to do that as well. But just making sure that licensing and insurance and all that stuff is on point. You definitely don't want to have someone out there that doesn't know what they're doing. Storm prep and emergency response clauses. Sometimes there's companies out there that will have things like that. You just want to make sure that there's nothing that would prevent the help from their end to you guys in a disaster or in an emergency response. You want to make sure that you can kind of count on them. Creating a relationship with that contractor or that vendor, I think, is super important. And if you don't have someone, reach out to us. We'd love to be that for you guys. Okay. Understanding warranties and maintenance contracts, is important. You guys are the ones that are getting 3 quotes. You go through all that work to pick a vendor, and then you got to make sure you dig through the warranties and the maintenance and what they will or will not do. and when they will or will not do things. I think it's super important for you guys. Make sure that you kind of do your due diligence there, making sure that everything's kind of accounted for and on point at least. Insurance documentation, again, pre-storm photos and video even. Even inside of your guys' properties is important, not just the outside, but the inside for insurance documentation purposes. There was no stain somewhere, and then after the storm, there is a stain. And if you have proof of that, it makes things just a whole lot easier. But yeah, definitely pre-storm photos, videos of the property, photos from the floor, photos from the roof, from every angle that you could possibly think of. Very, very important. Warranties, inspection reports, and invoices, making sure that you're keeping track of those things so that there's a paper trail of everything that you would need to prove to insurance that things were done, even if it's preventative maintenance, showing proof of preventative maintenance up until the storm. And then, proving that you're making sure that it was the roof that failed and not something else is super important. Understanding policy coverage for your wind and rain and flood damage. You guys got to go through your insurance policies and make sure that you understand what it covers, what it does not cover, how it covers it, when it covers it. All that stuff is super important. I'm not an insurance, at least a property insurance agent. So make sure that you guys go through your policies. It's something most people don't do. But nowadays with ChatGPT and things like that, you can actually take some of that information and dump it in and get a really some incredible feedback. So just make sure you understand what you have and how it works and just the details of that. Reach out to your insurance professional, have them explain it, and make sure that you let them know that you're taking pre-storm photos and videos and documenting everything and keeping track of all the paper and all that type of stuff. But very, very important. Post-storm protocol. And if you guys have dealt with storms in the past, this is the piece really where things start to count. Initial roof assessment, what to look for. Obviously, if you've been through a hurricane, you kind of know what you're looking for. But lifted shingles, movement of anything on the roof, discoloration. Sometimes things are dragged across the roof. Anything that's penetrated the roof, missing pieces. If you took pictures before, you'll see, hey, there used to be a vent here and there isn't now, or there used to be a direct TV piece and there isn't now, or a solar panel that isn't there now. Sometimes, having those to look back on and compare to what's going on is important. Temporary tarping and emergency repairs, if there's something that's needed, as far as tarping after, getting it done as quick as possible to show that you're trying to prevent water intrusion after the storm, definitely super important as well. Or emergency repairs, even if it's just something that can be done quickly, but as long as you're being preventative in that fashion, I think it'll help after storm. How to work with adjusters and vendors. I know that we typically can go in and be there when adjusters are on site to actually look at the damage. We can meet adjusters there and walk them through the pieces, pointing out those things, or if you guys needed help with that, you can always reach out to one of your vendors to be out there to help you. But I would definitely line that up, make sure that there's an on-site roofing professional there, or whatever damage that's going on. If it's not the roof and it's something else, just make sure someone's there to be able to walk the adjuster through all of that, make sure that they're not missing anything. But definitely having both of those pieces, the adjuster and the vendor on site, is important. A lot of times, people that I've seen claim typically don't do that. They won't have the vendor and the adjuster on site at the same time, and it's important to have those. Adjusters are insurance specialists, not roofing specialists, and so having both of those specialists there at the same time can help you definitely with the claim process or getting anything fixed. Notifying residents and insurance coordination, it's important. Obviously, I don't know all the timelines. I'm sure you guys do, as far as the timeline a resident would need to know prior to an adjuster or a vendor being on site. But I would think that if any of us were renting from one of your properties, we would want that information as well. We would want to know that someone's coming and what they're doing and why. So just a heads up, follow whatever protocol you guys have for notifying residents and make sure that they're aware of what's happening. Anytime that someone's going to be on site, obviously super, super important. Legal and safety responsibilities and Florida building code requirements. There's a bunch of stuff that you got to make sure that you do when it comes to Florida building code. And I wrote this one down because I didn't want to mess it up. Where was I? Florida building code. And it's important that the contractor you're using kind of understands all that they're going to show up and actually do the right things. The Florida building code is really designed to be beneficial to the customer, that it's going to help strengthen the roof or whatever it is, and keep things safe. So sometimes there's things that can be done after or sometimes before a hurricane to kind of help strengthen the building to bring it up to code. Sometimes it might be nailing or hurricane clips or things like that can be done, but making sure that you understand and that you're keeping those things up to code. Okay, very, very, very important. Roofing, windows, structural repairs, all that type of stuff. You definitely want people to look at from a Florida building code perspective. CAM and board duties during emergency response. I'm assuming that you guys have a list of protocol, and I know that the roof, if something were to go wrong, isn't the only thing that would go wrong in a hurricane, but I'm assuming that you guys have kind of like a proper order of things to happen, something in the best interest of the community that's there, making sure that the decisions are fast, and that it protects the residents and the property. Obviously, you want to do both, but fast decisions, protecting the property, bringing someone in to either tarp or protect or repair or whatever it is that you need done. Safety, from a safety perspective for the residents, I think is super important. I know that temporary repair sometimes can be done without board approval, and I know sometimes there are things that need board approval, but making sure that you're doing those as quickly as you possibly can as well. I'm not sure what what the emergency protocol is, but making sure that you're following those. Okay, keeping records of everything that happens as well, and documenting all the communication, the repair efforts, the communication with the board, making sure that everything's being done correctly and in the order that you need to be doing it, ensuring safety for everybody, so that nothing goes wrong. Super important, that you guys are doing everything the way that you should be doing it when it comes to that. In summary, proactive roof prep, it basically will help you with problems on the back end. You'll mitigate the issues that could happen if you guys are proactive and making sure that everything is in working order, or that if it isn't, to get it repaired prior to the storm, and documenting all of those things. It says regular inspections and reliable vendors are key. Obviously, I know right now it's kind of a scramble. Hurricane season's coming, and so finding someone if you haven't gotten inspections, but then keeping that on an ongoing basis, have them come out after, even if you think everything is fine, to redocument everything. Maybe every 6 months or so, to have someone come out and kind of inspect the roof, make sure things are okay, make sure everything's fine, and then keeping that photo documentation ongoing, so that when something does happen, you have proof that it has happened and you can get that repaired. But yeah, connecting with a vendor is I think definitely important. Obviously, a reliable vendor. I would assume all of you don't want to connect to an unreliable vendor. But yeah, finding a vendor that works, that you connect with, that's prompt and responsible and professional, I think is important. And I think that it'll benefit all of you when you guys are, looking at properties and keeping them hurricane ready. Okay. I know there's a open question session, so I figured I'd open the floor. I'm not sure if you'd like to chime back in on anything.
Yes, we have a question here. A commercial flat burr roof, which is 15 years old, does it have to be replaced?
So it's funny that you asked that. And on any roof, there's always a timeline. I think if there's no failure on the roof and the insurance company isn't pushing for a replacement, then I think that you could go longer. I will tell you this too, and I tell my clients this. You could replace the roof and put a brand new one on there, and then a hurricane could come through and rip the new one off. So if it's in working order and the insurance company is allowing you to go longer with it, I would allow it to continue. until there's a failure or a need from the insurance perspective to change the roof. I don't know if changing it proactively is necessarily the best move, but it also depends on the quality of the roof and what state it's in.
Michael, I have a question for you, and sorry, I don't think that you guys covered it this time, but do you all offer a program where you can come out and kind of inspect the roof and do all that before, but then do you have something where they can sign up with you so that after a storm, you're one of the first people to come out, kind of like a water remediation company might have available?
Yeah, so we do offer something called a roof share care plan, a roof shore care plan, I think is what it's called. But yeah, absolutely, we can create a contract with somebody where we're coming out on a regular basis to take care of penetrations or debris that's on the roof, photo document it on a regular basis, so that we're kind of on top of it. And then it also gives those customers kind of like first access to tarping and things like that in an emergency response. So absolutely, we do have a kind of like a preferred customer list, if that makes sense, that we service first before any others.
Perfect.
Any other question? Yes, we do have another question. Do you recommend a particular roof type? What type of roof do you think is best? And I know you guys had done that. You have a whole webinar on that on your YouTube channel, but definitely answer it today live, please.
Yeah, absolutely. I think whatever roof is on the house, obviously, or the property is probably the one that you probably should keep. And then as far as when you do change it, there are upgrades. There are better roofs. Metal tends to do best in hurricane situations because it's mechanically fastened. You know, you're screwing the metal into the roof, versus most other products are typically nailed. So mechanically fastened roof systems are typically really, really good. There's a lot of different products out there. Tile, obviously, and clay and concrete tile is only appropriate for certain applications. It can't just be put on any roof because of engineering issues. But typically, second place would be, tile systems are typically pretty good. And then obviously anything after that would be shingle. And at the bottom of the list would be a 3-tab shingle. If you have 3-tab shingles and you guys ever upgrade, I would recommend at least an architectural shingle. And then there are synthetic products that it depends on the one that you look at and what they're claiming. But yeah, metal from the top would be the best.
Okay. Any other questions why we have this professional with us today? Michael, it's been a long day for everyone with education coming in. This was great. Oh, we do have one more. Would structure have to be upgraded to apply a metal roof?
So no, actually, according to Florida Building Code, you can install it onto OSB sheathing. You can install it onto CDX or plywood sheathing. You can install it onto metal beams. There's a bunch of different applications. But most of the time we're installing metal in replace of shingles or in replace of tile or some synthetic product. So for the most part, there really isn't an upgrade for a metal install. If you were to install tile on something that wasn't there prior, then yes, then there's engineering and reinforcing, and because of the amount of weight that exists on a tile or clay roof.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? I put the contact information for AK Certified Roofing in the chat, so please go in there before you log off and grab their contact information. You may also learn more about them at the website that we added in there as well. We are taping this, so we will add this to their YouTube channel so that you can also share this with fellow board members and other CAMs. If you are a CAM or a board member who is looking to get more information to the masses and you want to engage with AK Roofing to have, a one-on-one webinar or a in-person lunch and learn, we would recommend that you email their email that's in the chat. I don't think that we have any. Okay, everyone, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.